And we're back. Fossil again here, children. Welcome. The second video, as promised. I have an interesting one for you. Let's get that music turned down. Shepherd of Fire. Basically, the song of how I feel right now. I feel like I'm the shepherd of the fire coming down on top of my goddamned head. The headphones I'm about to recommend, you might be able to guess them based upon this beautiful white cable. Well, it looks beautiful on the recording because you can't see the detail. I'm using a crappy Logitech 1080p webcam. So, the detail doesn't exist. At least not in terms of recording. The detail in the headphones do exist. Now, before we get too deep into this, these are what I would classify as a good throwaway headphone. They're not throwaway because they're dirt cheap. They're by no means dirt cheap. We have Monoprice to thank for that. I might do a review on those tired old things later. They sound wonderful. TLDR. Spoiler? Yeah, whatever. I'll figure it out eventually. But they're throwaway in the sense that I can really only truly recommend them to you if you have some money burning a hole in your bank account and by proxy your wallet. And you wouldn't mind tossing it away or pulling it out of the veritable box you threw it away in, but couldn't justify throwing it away because you never know when you need headphones for oh shit moments. Well, I'm telling you now, if you have approximately the $30 to $40 required to buy these little headphones, these, the Apple Ear Pods, that's EAR Pods, one word if I'm not mistaken, and no, you stupid child, I'm not talking about the damnable AirPods, the earborn lollipops, no. I'm talking about the lollipops with a string attached. Not a fancy string. It's probably some type of silicone rubber, butyl rubber. I don't know. It's rubber of some kind. It's pliable. These came with my iPod 5th generation device. So, you know they're old. They still sell them. And I don't know if the ones with an inline mic still sound as good. Mostly because I've heard issues with some headphone manufacturers not paying attention to what they're doing when they're adding the little mic and remote control inline, adding noise to either one or both of the headphones. Kind of like a crossover, a rudimentary, accidental crossover, which can incidentally destroy the sound. These, however, no inline remote. $30 to $40. No. English. Cannot get through a single damn recording without a slur. Ever. That's going to be my trope, my running theme. $30 to $40. Would I recommend them? You know, honestly, yes. If you understand the difference between well-recorded music and over-recorded music, and not just FLAC file, wave lossless, or Apple's lossless audio codec, ALAC, if I'm not mistaken, but well-recorded music. As an example, any good movie OST, or video game OST. If you like metal, go for Doom, the one with Mick Gordon. Sexy man. Wonderful metal. Or you could also go for Avenged Sevenfold Hail to the King. Yes, praise be to the Rev. Long since past, I'm afraid. But, comparing it to their older album, City of Evil, it's not an over-recorded mess. It is over-recorded. There is a loudness to it. But it's not insane. Then you have something like one of my favorites. The game was okay, but the soundtrack was really on par. A nice little fusion of futuristic, what would I call it, electronic sounds and orchestral sounds. And that would be the original soundtrack from Mass Effect Andromeda. Don't tar and feather me. I don't have enough tar or feathers for you to do that with, and I'd hate for you to waste your money, because I'm not going to let you do it to me. I'm a goddamn wizard. Do you think I'd let you tar and feather me? Yeah, anyway, I digress. May have forgotten to take my meds. Oh, right, audio. So, listening to those albums, I realized something about these headphones. They're really efficient, but they also sound really inexplicably good. Now, I don't understand how or why. All I know is that when I put it up against some very rudimentary tests using YouTube, it could pull off a smooth transition from 250 hertz all the way down to about 10, with minimal, if any, distortion, unless I really cranked the volume. But even with about 80 minus, it was going down, hertz pumping through these things, I could hear whatever the hell was in the background that they either left in, used as source, and just boosted the bass frequency, or maybe it was playing in the background on their computer, I'm not sure. But I could hear kick drums, I think, in the background of all that astonishingly low bass. And not just low bass, sub-bass. Really low sub-bass. And it sounded clean. I have a history in home theater and car audio, so subwoofers, tower speakers, bookshelves, you know, the standard accoutrement that go along with it, are something I am quite familiar with. And these get so deep into the sub-bass, they almost generate LFE. Now, LFE in the home theater world, trying to adjust my little bonnet here, and I take the headphones with me. LFE stands for Low Frequency Effect. Now, I'm sure there's a more technical definition as to what that particularly means, but when I say that, and when I use that, that means two things. One, it does sub-bass so clean and clear, it sounds like you have a subwoofer in your ear. See, I'm a goddamn wizard, I told you, I can rhyme. It's part of the job description, goddammit. And number two, tactility. Now, for those of you that don't understand LFE, go to your nearest store with home theater equipment, even cheap home theater equipment, and stand in front of the subwoofer's port, or speaker's port. Subwoofer is generally what you want, and then you can feel the bass. That's the effect. It's moving so much air. Not only is it conducting the frequencies, it's making you feel the goddamn frequencies. Feel them in your soul, in your bones, in your meat, in your skin, your neurons, and the little liquid that flows through the tubules that make up your blood vessels. And Window unit. One moment. There we go. Sorry about that. No, I'm not re-recording this. I'm tired of that. And no, I'm not going to edit it, because I really don't know how, and I'm not good at it, and I work a full-time job, so fuck you. I'm a goddamn wizard, and I'm an old man. I get to do whatever the hell I want at this point. Besides, I'm offering you my opinions. Oh, right. Speaking of opinions, these pull off an interesting low-frequency effect. They sounded like they had subwoofers in my ear canals. Now, they didn't really vibrate a whole bunch, but they sounded clean. Very minimal distortion. And I'm using an interesting setup. Let's see if I could do this. Yes. I have a Chinesium hybrid tube amp using 26N3 Chinese tubes. I am so glad I muted my mic. That was a loud sneeze. Now, I have this being fed from my DX3 Pro from Topping. That is what I've called a damp. A DAC amp combo. Damp makes me moist. It's a really clean sound. This does a little bit of tubey. I've listened to the balanced 2.5mm to a pair of headphones that I could put an MMCX connector into that terminates in 2.5mm using a XLR 4-pin to 2.5mm balanced adapter. I have an... God, I hate the Asians for their naming scheme. X-Duo? Zudu? X2? The TA01 hybrid tube amplifier with a Mullard 12AU7 tube being fed through the pre-out. Yes, I'm preamping an amp. Sue me. I use the USB DAC included in the device. Don't worry, I've listened to it both ways. But my favorite way is to set it about half, 12 o'clock, because it is used. The same one that Z reviewed. Zeos reviewed from Z Reviews. I can English. It's hard, but I can English. So, the knob has a little bit of wear to it, and there's a little bit of crackling when I move it into certain regions. So I decided I would start off here preamping with my Monolith Liquid Spark, an amazing warm headphone amp, being fed by a Topping D10 USB-powered DAC, an astonishingly warm DAC. And with these two, and the powers combined, no, not Captain Planet, but they create a warm, embracive tube sort of timbre to them, without all of the fuckery, the pH kind of fuckery that go along with tubes. Now, I mention that because I've listened to these little bastards on multiple amplifiers, damps, DACs, Bluetooth devices, cell phones, my LG V50, woo, new cell phone, and my Samsung Note 8, and of course on the iPod that they came with varying different kinds of audio files, well recorded, not so well recorded, which leads me back to the point. No matter what I put them on, they sounded full and good. That LFE from the sub bass kicked into overdrive in songs that were particularly well recorded, such as the Mass Effect Andromeda OST. Just ethereal bass, deep, widespread, which leads me into the mids. Not particularly anemic, but not very forward, not from what I can tell. These seem to be a bit more of a bassy headphone. Kind of how the Koss KSC-75s sound when you press them against your earballs by the hinge, so you don't cover up the wonderful open-backed goodness. They have bass response. Amazing sub-bass response. Mid-bass. Then you get to the mids, and they're almost neutral from what I can tell. Not too high, not too low. Maybe a bit perked up towards the mid-high region. And I have not looked for a graph. I might do that later and include it inside of the description for shits and giggles. Why not? Now, the highs, from what I can tell, they're a bit rolled off. They're not super tinny. They're not very sharp. Not from what I can tell. At least, not with the amount of isolation that the stock body offers. They get significantly brighter when you can create an airtight seal by jamming them into your ear canals. Because you're a masochist. I mean, you obviously would be if you bought an Apple product. It's funny because they fuck their customers without even so much as a spit on the hand to lube themselves up before they rape you in your wallet. I digress. Back to these. The highs. They're clean. Now, I'm a treble-sensitive kind of guy. So treble-sensitive that I didn't buy these just because they were the cheapest Odysseys. Odyssey. Sorry, no. You put a Z in your name. Odyssey. Besides, it sounds better than Odyssey. These are the LCD 2Cs, or the two classics. A well-noted warm, dark-sounding headphone. Now, with my treble sensitivity, their rolled-off highs don't sound so rolled off to me, personally. It sounds about as bright as anything else, and if I kick my liquid spark into high gain, it gets significantly brighter. Maybe that's a placebo effect. Maybe it's just due to literal more volume. But they sound brighter with higher amounts of gain applied to them. These didn't sound brighter. Nor did they sound darker or more muffled on a lower gain. They just got louder, fairly well balanced. The imaging on them, I can't quite decide. It's certainly not LCD territory or Bear Dynamic DT990 Pro, the 250 ohm variant. It's not like the 10 T2s. It's certainly not like the monoprice, high bass, hi-fi, the 9972s. Those 9972s. These, the really ugly ones, the open back in-ear monitor. Those have soundstage. Those have imaging. Way more than I ever thought they would. And these, even though they don't create a good seal, there is certainly a fair a stark lack. There we go. A stark lack of soundstage to them. They just don't have it. Or maybe my ears are fucked. Who knows? But what they seem to have is imaging. And I put them through tone sweep tests, as I'd mentioned, I believe. I don't know, I've redone this video so many times now I forgot what I have and have not mentioned. So, yes, I put them through a tone test. A tone sweep test. From 10 to 20 kilohertz. They never once distorted. The balance between them always stayed the same. And then I listened to an interesting song that was binaurally recorded. Now, I know that's kind of like cheating as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I can figure, because it's recorded in such a fashion that with stereo implementation, you get to enjoy. There's the window unit. I apologize if you can hear that, but it's awfully hot down here. But there was great separation in the mids, and not quite the low highs, but the high mids, right where it starts going into, what would I call it? Maybe the 1 and 1.7 to 3 kilohertz range? That was a nice separation, about where vocals exist. No ringing. Nothing like that. No sibilance that I could detect, which is strange, because if you don't power these, they're sibilant as hell, and they're muddy. Almost overly bassy. It's almost like the drivers can really only manage to push out large volumes of into your ear canals. But the binaural recording, I could hear and position them right where I saw them on the screen, as it was panning back and forth. And I could separate them. And I could separate them from their instruments. And I could separate their instruments, kind of. I mean, is YouTube, after all. It's not the best of quality. But I could separate their instruments, and generally where they were. Now, I listened to a few more sound demos that recorded audio that was in a multi-channel decoding. So there was a little bit of DSP tomfuckery being done to the audio signal to begin with. But on the stereo, where they were saying no good separation, I could hear decent separation and imaging. No soundstage to speak of, but the imaging was pretty good. And then they went on about, oh, look, you turn the surround sound on for this game, and hey, look, everything sounds nice and positioned where it should be. And then they started to sound a bit more surroundy. Granted, that was just a simple DSP effect, but it was noticeable. And that's the part that threw me for a damn ringer. That's the reason why I've had to redo this video thrice? 4 times now? Some amount of times. And then I started the track of Shepherd of Fire from Avenged Sevenfold on their Hail to the King album. May the Rev rest in peace. And I was impressed. I could separate the instruments not exceptionally well. Nothing like my Odysseys. Nothing like my DTs using an XL round from Brainwaves. But I got decent separation, and I came to the conclusion that these are worth the 30 to 40 you pay for them, especially if you don't mind getting little ear cushies to help them stay in your ear, and maybe even isolate a little bit, and have a little ear hook so they don't come out again. That would make them sound great, honestly. And I never thought I would ever say that about an Apple product ever. I mean, again, I know they have great technology, but they just are a terrible company from the perspective of being a customer of theirs. Prior old customer of theirs. And I would stack these right along some of the better IEMs I've listened to. These sound and have a different timbre to them, and are less isolating English. Thank you, mouth and tongue. They're less isolating than my 10T2s, of which I do enjoy. They sound a bit drier. I would say the 10T2s, at proper volume and properly amplified, have a more moist sound to them. Especially because they're isolated. They isolate you from the world around you. These sound a pinch drier, but that's because you can hear the world around you, up until you start cranking the volume up. Would I recommend these? Yes, if you have some money burning a hole in your proverbial wallet or bank account, and you don't mind giving it a shot, especially not if you're going to do it through Best Buy or your regional equivalent, or Walmart, regional equivalent, or even Amazon. Not really regional equivalent for that one, I guess, unless you're overseas, and I doubt my video will be seen overseas. That way you can return them if you don't like them and call me a lying bastard. One way or the other, I suppose. At least worth a shot. I'd say they punch right at about what they cost. Right about at what they cost. Would I take them over my monoprice 99.72s? No, no way in hell. But because I own them, do I enjoy them? Yes, of course, from time to time I'll hook them up to my Liquid Spark and have a nice roundabout with a few bands that I really enjoy listening to. So, Apple EarPods. Great headphone? No. Good. Worth the price? Yes. That's something you don't get a lot in a lot of these headphones nowadays, is either they're worse than what they're priced at, what they cost you. Like Beats, they're horrible value. But they don't exceed, so it's not an exceptional value. Just acceptable. Well then. I'm not good at editing, and I will not edit this video, so I'll go straight into the outro now. If you've listened to this and you enjoy me, Fossil, being who I am and doing what I do, well then thank you. Thank you very much for your time. It's about 27 minutes now on the timer. I don't know how long or how often I can upload, but if you enjoy me and you have questions, please feel free to ask. I will be more than happy to attempt to offer my feedback. And I'll probably be doing a few more headphone reviews as time goes on. May even start doing equipment reviews. I mean, I already gave you the basic rundown earlier. Let me know what you think. Yada yada yada. Subscribe if you feel like it, I guess. I'm probably not going to make a habit of reminding you to like or dislike the button, because that's a way for the lazy people who don't want to comment to tell me if I did good or bad. There we go. I suppose if you like, subscribe to Fossil the Wizard and enjoy me as I am and as I always will be. Let's look forward to the next video. It may just be a surprise. I might just unbox something. Who knows? Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, a pleasant night, rest well, and come back to the Wizard again soon.